Hello everyone, my name is Usurper, and I am here to tell you the story about my visit to the most dangerous psychologist alive. You can watch the previous video if you want, but you don't need to. The two stories are separated. It all started after I was traumatized in the gym. I lost my aura, wasn't able to sleep without nightmares, and that dude was on his dream vacation in my head, so I decided it's time to visit a psychologist. I searched the net for the nearest one, and after little bit of digging I got a link which was only accessed via the dark web. I was curious about the dark web, so I entered it. The site was normal. I spoke to the assistant, and made an assignment tomorrow. I was surprised a doctor only accessed through the dark web and has lot of patience. But what surprised me the most was the assistant speaking to me on the phone. He had the voice of a 10-year-old kiddo, with Gen Z vocabulary. I didn't question it much and went to sleep. Tomorrow I followed the address and it led me to a nearby bakery. I never knew this was a bakery, old dusty, no windows, just brick walls, and no lighting. The baker was smiling when I entered. I told him about the address. To my surprise, he told me he knows that psychologist, and he works for him, and he gave me another address which led to the real cabinet. Before I could ask any questions, he asked me to buy something. I wasn't sure if the human stomach could digest whatever witchcraft he was developing. So I used my 1000 IQ brain and told him it'd like a hot bread right out of the oven. He went to grab it, while bragging about how good he is. I was already gone brushing spider webs of my hair. What bakery has spiders with enough courage to land on visitors? I was convinced I saved myself from troubles by leaving that bakery. But I was mistaken. That new address led to another place with another new address which kept leading me away and away from the bakery. I was pissed at this point. I wanted a nearby doctor, and not to run a marathon. After a while of traversing wild terrain, solving mysteries and riddles for new addresses, following countless addresses across the whole city, back and forth, I reached the cabin, which was located in the woods outside the city. It was a huge cabin made out of rusty iron walls, and the worst part, there were buses that lead here. Upon asking one of the people who came via the bus, this is what he said. "You clearly didn't buy anything from that baker. If you did, he would have given you the real address and a free bus ticket." Looks like I was played. After a while I noticed patients were leaving the doctor's room quite fast, and everyone was too calm. Even the one who entered screaming seemed chill. So this doctor lives up to his reputation. After 10 minutes the assistant called my name, and yes, it was the same 10-year-old voice I talked to yesterday, but he looked like a 79-year-old man, who smiled at me till I entered the doctor's room. Now what I witnessed after that, no sane or insane human would ever imagine. I dare you, dear listener, to pause the video and comment what would come next. As any professional doctor, there existed a white bed, too clean, lot of medical trophies unrelated to psychology, and a glass closet full of wine. And what sat in front of me was the doctor laying in the chair with his legs on the desk, shirtless, with sunglasses on. A high-end expensive cigarette rested in his mouth, a bottle of wine in his left hand. His right hand was filled with rings, more than 4 per finger. As I sat down, he offered me a sip of wine. I denied, and he called me boring. After a moment of silence, I explained my situation, and what I am suffering from. I expected some advice, and clearly a creative one, and I got it. He opened his drawer and pulled a needle and a pack of small glass bottles, and he told me to use PED for fast results in order to farm aura on that guy. I was shocked, and asked for alternative solutions. He said he will charge me extra, and told me if I refuse to blast here, I just have to make sure no one who can farm aura on me exists. And he just happened to know a friend of his, who works as a professional hitman. At that moment I knew this is a lost cause. And what exactly did I expect from a dark web psychologist? 3 minutes has passed and I feel like going home. My nervous system isn't built for this randomness. He told me he only accepts payments with cryptocurrency. Of course, why didn't I think of it? I told him I have cash, and he told me he charges $100 per 1 minute, and I wasted 3 minutes of his life, so it would be $300. I refused to pay, and he didn't like it. He launched the wine bottle at me. I dodged. Then the desk went flying at me. I barely dodged it. What followed next was an MMA fight held in a bar instead of the octagon. I won, not thanks to my fighting abilities, but thanks to the fact that he gassed out seconds later and gave up. He said if I don't have $300 real dollars, he also accepted counterfeit money. Before I could speak, he got a phone call and started talking. From what I heard, one of his homies is sentenced to life in prison. I want nothing to do with a doctor whose homie is jailed. Before I left, and he spoke and offered me something, which will be yet another story I'll speak about in another day. This was a real story which followed days after my first time losing aura in the gym. I hope you all learned from today to never trust a doctor from the dark web, and to always buy something from that baker. You don't need to eat it though. Also like and subscribe while you're here.